Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 34 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all kinds of other crafty shenanigans. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and I'm filming a day earlier than usual. I'm not going to be in as much as normal tomorrow. I have some things I'm going out with some friends tomorrow, so I likely won't have the time I normally have to do my filming on a Saturday. So we'll do it on Friday instead this week. So if you're a new viewer, welcome. Thank you so much for checking out my podcast. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another week to see what I've got up to with my knitting in the past week. I'm so happy to have all of you here watching. We have a nice day out today again. Gorgeous autumn day. I love this time of, as I've said for the last several weeks, I love this time of year. It's perfect. I love the cooler temperatures. I love it. So what else new did I have? I think that was the only thing new, is that I'm just filming this a day earlier than usual. So without further ado, let's get on and check out my works in progress for the past week. So you're probably all wondering how my Tenya sweater is coming along and whether or not I've managed to find more yarn. I was hoping to find 2 more skeins, but I was only able to find 1. So I'm chatting back and forth with somebody on Ravelry about buying that skein of yarn from her. So I sent her another email earlier this morning and sent her my PayPal information and so on. So hopefully she'll be able to get that into the mail to me, or hopefully I'll be able to get the money to her, and then for her to get it into the mail to me fairly soon. So hopefully next week I'll be able to get the sleeves done. So in the last week since we talked, I finished doing all the seaming, or I guess it's really not any seaming. The shoulders are done. I think that was done last week. And I've done the collar or the trim on the neckline. And I've tucked in all the ends. So all that's left now is wait for the new yarn. Wait for the next skein of yarn. And then I will pick up for the sleeves and get those finished, tuck in those few ends, block it, and she's done. So I really am hoping that the yarn is going to get to me soon. I'm hoping she can get it into the mail sometime in the next few days, or at least early next week. So I'm kind of hoping I can finish this for next week. Chances are it might be closer to 2 weeks before I'm able to have the yarn arrive here. I think she's out on the west coast and I'm close to the east coast. So hopefully it'll get here soon. So I'm thankful I did find a skein of yarn, and I'm hoping, we've been crossing our fingers so much for this sweater. Let's hope that the dye lot is similar. What I plan on doing, I took the yarn I had left over. So I got two little almost 5-gram balls of yarn. And what I plan on doing is when I get the new skein, I'm going to take that skein of yarn and I will wind it into 2 balls. So I'll have 2 25-gram balls of yarn, plus I have 2 of these almost 5-gram balls of yarn. So what I plan on doing is I am going to alternate, on each sleeve I'm going to alternate the 5 grams of old and start the new yarn. So I'll alternate every round with old, then new, old, new, so on, until I run out of the old yarn, and then I'll continue down the sleeve as far as I can go with the new yarn. So I am still hoping that I can get it to close to my elbow. We'll see. And I'm hoping that if there is any difference or major difference in the dye lots, I am hoping that by alternating the old and new yarn for the first while, it will minimize the drastic appearance of a different dye lot on the sleeves. But it is what it is. So I did hear back. I'm not sure if I told you this last week. I had been texting back and forth with the woman I bought the yarn from originally, and she went home after work last week when I was texting her, and she checked and she had nothing left in her stash. So sadly I couldn't get another 2 skeins from her and had to go somewhere else to get another skein. Either which way, I should have a skein coming to me in the next week or so, and I should be able to get this sweater 100% finished as soon as the yarn gets here. It shouldn't take too long to do up the two short sleeves. So cross your fingers that the dye lot is pretty close and that the yarn arrives soon. So I'm hoping for sure, I'm hoping that by the end of October it'll be finished and it'll be in the finished object pile. For now, it's just gonna have to sit there and wait until I get the new skein of yarn, and then we'll come back and we'll do the sleeve. So we got a little bit of good news there, and we just have to wait and see once the yarn arrives so I can get going on finishing the knitting on that, because I'm so excited to have it. And then once I finish the sleeves, then I'll give it a quick bath, a quick soak, and block it out. The top part won't need much blocking. It's just around the hemline that has the lace design that I want to get that blocked out nicely. And I'm just sipping a plain old cup of black tea today. Nothing fancy, just plain old Lipton orange pekoe type of tea. My second work in progress is my scrap wrap. And with this, I hadn't done anything with it for probably about a month. It had been quite a while. So my plan had been for this week to finish as much as I could on Tenya, and then I was ready to start the festive sock along, but I couldn't start that until the 1st. So I had several days in the middle where I picked up my scrap wrap, and I managed to add 11 squares on here. So now I think I'm at about roughly 40. I'll double check. I should have checked that before I started talking to you guys. I'll put a little note here how many squares I have left to knit, but I think it's around somewhere between 34 and 54 squares completely left to do. I think it's probably around 50 or 48 is my rough guess. I'll mark it down there how many squares I have left. I also spent a little bit of time in the last week. I had some ends that needed weaving in, and I still have more ends that need weaving, but I'll get to those. So I added 11 squares. I have these 5 here. Then I added this yellow one, this one, the green, and these 3. So it's coming along nicely. So I'm getting closer to done. I still have a ways to go, and then even once I have all the squares on and all of the tails tucked in, I still want to do, I'm thinking probably an I-cord border. I might do a crochet border, but I am leaning towards an I-cord border. And what I'll do is I have a full skein of black fingering weight yarn, so I'm going to just use a black border on it. I think it'll look really striking with a solid black border on it. So that's my second work in progress. I got a goodly bit done on that, especially where I hadn't done anything on it for some time. I was really happy to get get a good chunk done on that. I count 11 squares as a good chunk done on that. So I'm happy with my progress there. Although now that I've got back into doing some socks, I'm thinking that poor thing's going to go on the back burner, and I'm going to be busy with sock knitting. So talking about sock knitting, that brings us to my third work in progress this week. And I showed you this yarn last week. This was West Yorkshire Spinners, one of their Christmas colorways, and this is Fairy Lights, not the sparkle, just the regular Fairy Lights. I found out a few days ago that there's actually both the Fairy Lights, sparkle and regular. I guess it's regular. Anyway, so I just got this in the last week or two, and I'm already casting it on. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So I've started this earlier, where I started doing a Christmas box a box of Christmas socks. And I have a few pair in there, but what I'd like to do is go along with the same thing that Amy Florence from the Stranded podcast is doing, and making herself 25, probably 26 pair of socks, Christmas socks or festive socks, winter socks, whatever you want to call, or winter themed socks, and have that number pair in a box that once December rolls around, I can wear a new pair of socks, a different pair of socks every day through the Christmas season up to Christmas Day and then Boxing Day. So right now I only have 2 or 3 pair. So I'm nowhere close to wearing a different pair of Christmas themed socks for the entire month of December leading up to Christmas. But such is life. So I cast these on, and so Amy Florence is doing a festive sock along, where it's open from October 1st through December 1st, and the goal is to knit yourself Christmas socks or festive socks. I celebrate Christmas, so I will most likely keep calling mine Christmas socks. So I cast this on yesterday, on the 1st of October, and this is my start on my first pair of Christmas socks. And I know last week I had mentioned what I was planning on doing with these 2 skeins of West Yorkshire Spinners yarn was I was going to make kind of like a shorty sock. I don't really enjoy socks that are overly long. I prefer mine to be a little above the ankle. So what I decided was that I'm not following a pattern for these. I'm just using a basic sock pattern or basic sock design. And I cast on 64 stitches using 2.5 millimeter needles or US 1. And cast on 64 stitches doing magic loop. And I did a 2x2 rib for 30 rounds. So it gives me about 3 inches on my leg. And then I've started to transition. It's only just 4 rows done on that. I'm transitioning into doing a heel flap and gusset on this pair. And I like doing the pattern where on the right side it's slip 1, knit 1 all the way across, and then on the wrong side you slip 1 and then purl everything on the way back. So it gives a nice slip stitch cushioned heel or heel flap. And then I'll continue on. I'll do the heel turn and then I'll pick up the stitches and start down the gusset. Now I need to decide on these whether I'm going to continue to do a 2x2 rib all the way down the top of the foot until I get to the toe, or if I'm going to switch to doing it just stockinette. Right now I'm leaning towards doing a 2x2 rib all the way down the front, all the way down, because I like the little extra stretch that gives me. So I am leaning towards doing it that way. Stay tuned next week and see what I actually did decide to do with these. But once I get down, going whoopsie. Once I start heading down the foot, I will wait till it's long enough and just do a regular wedge toe. That's what I'm looking for. So it's not really a formal pattern of any sort. It's just following basic sock structure instructions. And I've knit enough just plain ordinary socks that I don't need a pattern for a basic vanilla type sock. So that's where I am so far with these. So the plan is to do a pair of socks, the sorta shorty, because they're not like really short, but they're a shorter length in the leg. So I want to finish up the first pair of socks. I'm just going to do, so the first pair of socks, I'm going to do just a basic vanilla sock like this. I'll do the heel flap, the gusset, the toe, everything is all going to be done in the same yarn. I am suspecting that it will not take, I will not even use 50 grams of the 100 gram skein of yarn to make those. Then what I plan on doing later is I want to make a second pair of sort of shorty socks out of the same yarn, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an afterthought heel in a contrasting color, and I'll do the toe in a contrasting color. So with those, I think I'll probably do 15 rounds of either 2x2 or 1x1 ribbing. Then I will do probably 15 or 20 rounds of plain stockinette down the leg. Then I will put in a thread or waist yarn and continue on down the foot. And then I will do I'll do that all stockinette. And then I will do the heel, the afterthought heel, and the toe I will do in a contrasting color. So I'm not sure yet if I want to do it in a red or in a bare colorway. So just an off-white color. So I haven't decided on that, but that's plenty far enough down the road. What I am planning on doing, probably once I finish this pair, I'm probably going to switch to my second skein of West Yorkshire Spinners, and I will make a pair of socks pretty much the exact same style that I'm making this pair. So I will do the second pair will be a 2x2 rib, like a 2x2 ribbed sock with probably the 30 rounds of ribbing on the leg, and then heel flap and gusset. And then I'll do a second pair of shorty socks with that same yarn, and I'll do the same style that I want to do with the second pair of socks from the first skein, where I'll do an afterthought heel and the in a contrasting yarn with the contrasting heel and toe. I'll leave the cuff the same color as the rest of the sock. So those are the plans for my festive sock along. I'm kind of hoping, it's probably a big pipe dream to think I'm going to get all 4 pair done in the next 2 months, but we'll see. That works out to one sock per week. So if I've completely finished sock number 1 on this before I podcast next week, I'm on pace to do that. But I also have another project that I want to cast on next week. It's a mystery shawl knit along with Stephen West. So my attention might shift to that come next week. We'll see. Worst case scenario, I'll just slowly add more Christmas socks to my box of Christmas socks. But for now, I'm aiming at trying to get 4 pair of sort of shorty socks done between now and Christmas. So stay tuned. We'll see if I succeed with that. So that's about it for my knitting content this week. I got as far as I can with Tenya, and now I'm just holding out and waiting for I was just checking. I thought my candle had gone out. Anyway, it smells so good. Oh, there's a tangent. So I've got my Tenya sweater. I've done as much as I could on that. And then I spent some time working on my scrap wrap. And then once the first rolled around, I really got on track with starting my, I was busy with other things most of the day yesterday, so I really only got going on it in the afternoon. So I did manage to get the majority of the leg done last night and this morning. So that's good. And then, so that's what I spent the week on, was those 3 projects. So I'm rambling, aren't I? Anyway, the only other thing different or new, I guess, with me this past little while is I've decided to do Vlogtober again. I did it in 2018 where I did a short little video every day through the month of October, and I've opted to do that again this year. And I'm posting those videos on my original channel. I'll post a link down below to that. I'll have them in a playlist, Vlogtober 2020. But I thought since that one is going to have knitting content, it's going to have other craft content, it's just going to have all sorts of different things going on in it, I thought it made more sense just to put it on my more general craft channel than my knitting channel. So if you're interested, go check that out and take a peek at those videos. Otherwise, I think this is going to be a little bit shorter video this week. So, like I say, I think that's about it. So I'm happy to have had you here with me this week, and hopefully in the next week or two you'll get to see Tenya 100% done. Oh, I'm so excited to get that done. Oh, I want it done. And tune back next week and see how far I got along on my sort of shorty Christmas socks. Alrighty, so I think I'll close her off for today and let you go, and I will see you guys again next week. Take care. Bye now.